Hey, happy Wednesday to you this morning. I'm glad that you've joined me for a midweek edition of 5 Minutes with Phil. Thank you for letting us unpack some scripture for you. And we want to kind of send you on your way today with some encouragement and maybe a little bit of a challenge or two. And hopefully we can do that. As we've been doing this week, and we're going to do it again today, rather than give you just a verse or two of scripture and unpacking that, which is great, I decided let's maybe look at a whole story or a whole passage of scripture and see what we can unpack from there. And so far we've done that the first 2 days this week, and we're going to do it again today here on Wednesday. And this week brings us to the Old Testament, and we are in the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 23, verses 9 and 10. It's a 2-verse story of a great warrior by the name of Eleazar. This is one of my favorite short stories in the scripture, and I want to use that as a challenge for all of us here today who might be reading this with me. So why don't you join me, take a look at the screen, let's look at this verse together and see what we can pull from here. Starting in verse 9 of 2 Samuel 23, it says, "Next to him was Eleazar, son of Dodai the Ahohite, as one of the 3 mighty warriors. He was with David when they taunted the Philistines gathered at Pasdammim for battle. Then the Israelites retreated, but Eleazar stood his ground. And he struck down the Philistines till his hand grew tired and froze to the sword. The Lord brought about a great victory that day, and the troops returned to Eleazar, but only to strip the dead." Wow, there's just 2 verses in the story, but wow, is there a lot to kind of unpack from this thing. So why don't we get started, okay? First of all, Eleazar, what an incredible picture of perseverance, of not giving up. I can't even imagine what it was like for him to hold on to the sword so tightly and for so long, and to fight so incredibly that his hand froze to the sword. That sword was not coming off because he was so committed to this battle. And what an example to all of us that in the midst of what we face, in the midst of the battles that we face, in the midst of the hardships, in the midst of being tired, it literally says he was tired, in the midst of all of that, may we be so committed to the Lord and to our walk with God that we will not drop the sword. We will hold the sword no matter what. What an amazing example. And I want to point out something to you. Did you notice that the scripture said that the Israelites retreated? Okay, those are his fellow soldiers. So I want you to think about that, okay? So Eleazar and his fellow soldiers, they are fighting against the enemy, the Philistines, and all of his buddies retreat. He's by himself, and he wins this victory. Okay, it's one thing to be strong and saying, yeah, when you're surrounded by your friends that are right there with you. But what happens when you're by yourself? What happens if you feel abandoned? Will you still stay committed to your walk with Christ, to the work of Christ, to what the Lord has called you to do? Are you still committed to that? You know, the battle might get rough, and sometimes it might even feel a little bit lonely out there. Are you still committed? Will you still hold on to the sword? I'm challenged by that today. Regardless of what I face, and regardless of how exhausted I might be with everything that I'm facing, I still need to be committed to hold that sword and to stay true to Jesus and stay true to what he's called me to do. And there was a huge victory because of that. I want to see victory take place in my life and in my church. I bet you do too. And if we want to see that, then no matter what, let's hold the sword. Let's not give up on what God has for us. All right? That's my challenge for you today. I hope that blesses you. I pray you have a great day today. We love you. Thanks for joining me. And Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.